BlackberryOS.com. I'm here with Anders Jepson. He is head of gaming, global gaming for RIM. And we're going to talk to you a little bit today. We're at BlackBerry Jam 2012, Jam Americas in San Jose. And we're going to talk to you a little bit today about gaming, where it's going with BlackBerry 10,
Great.
how the feedback is from developers. So, I mean, what do you think at this event? As far as like the gaming, where do you think it's going with BlackBerry 10? Are you excited? Do you think it's going to be successful? Are you excited for it?
I mean, this is BlackBerry Jam, and obviously it's not a pure gaming conference, right? I mean, most people who are into gaming probably have seen me at all the big gaming shows for the last year and a half since I started at RIM. So we're really trying to evangelize and talk about our new platform, and the on-ramping to BB10 was the playbook, and I think we're seeing now there are tons and tons of all the right games coming to Playbook now. So I don't think there is an app deficiency in terms of games on Playbook already. I mean, there are so many games, and I mean, you met with some of the game developers here at the press conference just now. New studios and old retro studios, I mean, console studios coming to mobile now, and they're all looking at the BlackBerry 10 platform that we've been building for the last 2 years or whatever, and they're just blown away by the quality of the APIs and the SDK and the tooling. And many companies, they port their games in between 24, 48, 70, whatever hours. That's how long it takes to bring their iOS or other platform game to BlackBerry 10. So I think that's a good testimony to that we definitely have the architecture pat down. So
the developer tools and everything that's necessary for the developers.
For this conference, it's also interesting if you're a developer and listening. We just announced that we have the Visual Studio in beta now, open beta for all developers. You can use Visual Studio if you do that today, which many game developers actually do, as the premier platform for game development, if you're going cross-platform at least. So full debugging and everything in Visual Studio. So that's a big step for game developers.
So did we just acquire Visual Studios? Is that what?
No, I mean, we had to write our own plugin to support it from scratch. And I don't think there's any other mobile platform that does that, except for Microsoft themselves, obviously.
Right.
But it's very important for game developers. I mean, I was a developer myself for 15 years before joining them. So our studio used those kind of tools exclusively. So
So what would you tell, like, as far as like game developers on iOS and Android and such? What would you tell them to bring them over to BlackBerry? Like what?
And that's a good question. I mean, for the last year and a half, it's been about evangelizing, because BlackBerry and gaming has not been synonymous, really, especially in the gaming community. Everybody was like, BlackBerry, isn't that for business guys? But I mean, and I thought so as well. I mean, I'm based out of Sweden, so in Scandinavia we didn't have BlackBerries either, and there were a few of them. But for iOS developers, I mean, I ran a studio for many years, and going cross-platform means you're exposing your gaming brands to so many more people. I mean, you're broadening the audience, and that is what counts, especially now in the days of freemium. So if you're a business guy at a gaming studio and you don't even know what your engineers are developing in, and I run into those all the time, they don't know if they're doing Objective-C or C# or Native Engine or whatever, or Unity or etc.
Right.
So I basically try to help them, and now developers come back to me at a later conference, say, Anders, I follow your advice. I mean, now I know, and we're actually going using this and that and the other, and now we're coming to BlackBerry as well, because they find out, like I said, like Galaxy on Fire 2 from Fish Labs, it took them 1 day to port to BlackBerry 10. It's that easy. So if you're an iOS developer, you should really develop if you're using native stuff. You should use C++. Then it takes you a few days, and you can start generating revenue from Playbook today, and very soon on BlackBerry 10.
That's using the Cascades.
No, Cascades are for the UI framework stuff. Usually games that are full frame experience. Games usually own the entire screen, right? So you render everything yourself. You're creating the universe. But for apps, it's more like Cascades and the controls.
Okay, very nice. So here's a question for you. Because you're working with games all the time, like, and I know Bard's Tale just came out.
Yeah.
I mean, what's your favorite game on the Playbook so far? I mean, if you had to pick one.
Now I'm alienating my partners here, so that's an unfair question. Yeah, of course, thank you so much. Thanks, Joe. I think that, I mean, there are many different categories, and I think the big variation is something that I'm very, very pleased about. But I mean, Amiga, for example, I mean, I started writing games myself when I was like 10 in 1981, so a long time ago, and I was a big Amiga user as well. So there are, I mean, hundreds of Amiga games coming now. So Turrican 2 is one of my favorite games right now, honestly, and the Bard's Tale. But I mean, and then Modern Combat 3 that just was released. And I mean,
and isn't the Bard's Tale? Isn't that something you guys, when you got them to come over to Playbook and to BlackBerry? Or isn't that kind of an exclusive? Like there's features in that Bard's Tale that aren't in other versions. I mean, because you can play the original version, right? And then you can play the.
No, you're actually. I don't know if they have that available on the other platforms. It's out on Mac and iOS as well. So you have to check with Stefan Gisir as well at the conference. But it took them 3 days to port that over to BlackBerry 10 and play with him. He just mailed me one day. Do you want to feature this game? We just ported it over to your platform. So he must like the SDKs tools. I guess it took them 3 days. And he also said, I mean, it took them 27 hours to make back that investment that they had importing to our platform. In 27 hours, they made back the porting cost on BlackBerry. I think that's what the developer like you asked. That's the important part, right?
And it's a very high content game. So I mean, all these other developers can see that. You know, these that are making these very high content.
I think the file size is like 1.5 gigabytes.
Gigabytes, yeah.
1.5 gigabytes. It's a huge game.
Yeah.
And there's a very big complexity to that kind of game. It only took like 3 days.
Yeah.
And a few days with Galaxy Fire, which is also a really huge game.
Galaxy Fire, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. That's awesome. Now, as far as BlackBerry 10 goes, getting these games from the playbook to BlackBerry 10, you know, we saw the BlackBerry 10 OS come out, you know, just at the keynote.
Yeah.
And I mean, how will games easily transfer over from playbook to BlackBerry 10, or will there be some tweaking involved? How's that work?
Basically, everything that runs on playbook today runs without modification on BlackBerry 10 because it's the same platform. It's just a GUI layer on top. Since games own the entire screen in most cases, they don't use escape control for anything. It just runs.
Okay.
But obviously, we announced recently we're only going to support 2 screen resolutions: 1280 by 720 and for the full touch, and then 720 by 720 for the touch keyboard version. Right. That means there's very low fragmentation and supporting a 1:1 aspect ratio. Obviously, if you're going from playbook, but it's like a widescreen aspect ratio going to a square one. If your engine doesn't dynamically move the power meter or whatever. Yeah. Obviously, you need to do a bit of tweaking. Yeah. But many developers I've spoken to over the last few months now to prepare them for launch for those devices, they say, I mean, we already support 4.3 and 69, so 1.1. It takes us 30 minutes to tweak that in our engine, and we can just push through anything we want to push through in terms of content, and it automatically works.
That's good to know, because as far as
it is a concern, right? Yeah. So it's actually less the resolution than the screen size.
Yeah.
Because if there's a lot of density in terms of interaction, if you have a smaller screen, obviously it can be hard to manipulate that in game in a satisfying way. You might want to play that game on a playbook instead.
No, I hear you. Okay, all right. Well, thank you for spending some time with us today. I just wanted to show everybody this.
Yeah, of course.
He's a big BlackBerry.
These guys are awesome.
Fan, so
I follow you guys. So
all right,
take care.
Thanks for taking it and enjoy the event.
Pleasure. You too.